to The Communication Tree, where we explore communication, connection, and the belief that every voice deserves to be heard. I'm Jennifer Branchini, speech-language pathologist, speaking with clinicians, researchers, allied health professionals, and everyday people about how communication shapes our lives. Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Branchini. I'm a speech-language pathologist in the DMV area. This is brought to you by The Communication Tree, LLC, which is my company. And then today's a special interview. Essentially, the script has been flipped. So Chad from Rise 25, the podcast company that I'm working with, is going to be interviewing me.
Hey, Jen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Hey, great to talk to you. I'm excited
Likewise.
to learn more about kind of what you do and a little bit more about you. Hey, tell me what first inspired you to go into speech language pathology?
Before I tell you that, just anyone watching this, I'm in my car. I am driving around DC doing evals. That's why I have a seatbelt on. But I'm parked. Don't worry, I'm safe. What inspired me to get into speech? I am a psychology major. I was a psychology major and a history major and an English major. But I always, in psychology, I thought I wanted to be a psychologist. And but then I started working in the field and I realized it wasn't for me, but I still wanted a helping profession. So I decided to do speech therapy.
Okay. When you first tried it, was there like a moment where you knew it was for you?
Yeah, I went and observed a speech therapy practice in Miami, which is where I'm from. And I observed a couple kiddos on the spectrum. And I took some classes at Florida International University and I loved it. So here I am.
Nice. So you've worked with both children and adults, I believe.
Yeah.
What kind of different communication challenges would a child face compared to an adult typically?
Sure. So I'm a previous owner of District Speech and Language Therapy in DC, and we treated kids as young as 1 month old to as old as 80. And so the kinds of things you might see for a kiddo, let's say for a baby, you're going to see feeding challenges probably. For, let's say they're like 18 months, you're going to see more language challenges, Also for like a baby, you might see tongue tie, which is, could impact feeding and speech. If they're older, like 24 months and up, you're going to see probably more language delay. That's when the kids start getting diagnoses of autism, apraxia, sensory processing disorder, you name it. And then, once the kids are 3, 4, 5, 6, you're looking at language, you're looking at articulation, you're looking at behavior, attention. And then as they're getting to be teenagers, they may still have articulation issues. They may have stuttering. They may have executive function issues, attention issues, social pragmatics. And then when you're getting into adulthood, you're seeing, a lot of the clients that came to District Speech were stutterers. And so we worked a lot with that as well. And then when they get older, and they start having, health issues, maybe they had a stroke, maybe they had a TBI, maybe they had, we had a lot of clients who had tongue thrusts. So their dentist would send them to us and we would have to basically fix their tongue thrust. That's called myofunctional therapy. Because the dentist would say, you can't get braces, you can't get Invisalign until we work on your tongue thrust. So we saw really honestly everything. We get clients with voice impairments who had vocal nodules, everything. Clients on disability, literally everything.
What's maybe like one of the earliest signs that a child could be experiencing a speech or language delay?
What age?
By the time they're old enough to start talking, I guess.
Well, you're going to see they're not talking. You're going to see behavior issues because they're getting frustrated that they can't talk. If, they're on the spectrum, you're going to see toe walking. You're going to see repetitive behaviors. You're going to see sensory issues. You're going to see deficits in attention. Yeah, you're going to see all of those things that, I do early intervention evaluations. And so, when I read the intake forms, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what are the signs, what are the symptoms, so I know what I'm getting into when I go into the eval.
So when you say toe walking, I guess that's kind of the one that seems like what does that have to do with speech impairment?
So it's more of like there's a lot of things actually. So toe
Hmm.
walking, kiddos who are on the spectrum will toe walk because they don't have a good sense of where their body is in space. So they start to toe walk because it actually helps them to walk.
Hmm.
So, how that's related to speech, I mean, essentially it's related to, so for kiddos who don't know where their body is in space, they also don't know where their mouth is in space. They don't know, their brain is not connecting to their mouth and the rest of their body in the same way that a neurotypical person would. And so, you know, holistically, it's all related. That's the difference between me and another speech therapist is that I treat the child holistically and I speak to all the providers and I'm like basically the child's hub to connect the family and treat the child appropriately.
What would you say? Why is early intervention important then when it comes to speech and language development?
So there's so much research, evidence-based practice of like get in early, get in there early before they start to really develop and form habits that are harder to undo later. So that's the bottom line for why it's essential.
How much difference can that make then when you do in
Huge,
the long term?
huge. I mean, it also depends, you know, what's going on with the family because it's parent
Mhm.
coaching. So can the parent actually do what you're telling them to say? Telling them to do? Can the teacher implement the strategies? Some of these parents don't have anywhere to live. Some of them, you're going in and they're in a homeless shelter. Some of the teacher daycares I go to, the teachers are overwhelmed with other kids, or they don't believe the child is smart. So they don't believe anything you're telling them to do. So they won't actually do what you're telling them. I mean, when they work with me, I teach them, number one, the child is actually smart. Look, this is what the child can do. And then once they believe me and they believe the child, then the child actually starts to make progress.
What does a typical speech therapy session look like for a child or even an adult just starting out?
So the first session, well, it's an eval first. So I'm gathering all the information about what's going on with them. And I'm asking them about everything, medications, doctors, doctor visits, history of ear infections. Have they been to an ENT? Have they had a tongue tie? Were they premature? How premature were they? Do they have a history of torticollis? Like I'm asking them everything under the sun, and finding out who are your providers, and I'm also asking them like, what have you currently tried? What have the strategies have you already tried? How are they going and are they working? And then, I'm working with the child. I make besties with the child, and then I can figure out what strategies are going to work best for the family or the adult
So at what point are you kind of providing tailored treatments?
the whole time.
Oh, the whole time. How do you measure progress?
So I use ChatGPT. So I dictate all my notes into ChatGPT, and then I've trained, obviously HIPAA, I'm not giving them full names. And then I train ChatGPT to basically, you know, track all of my notes for the kids. And then when I need like a summary, like a progress report or the child's IEP, individual education plan is up, you know, or, I'm trying to, I'll even ask ChatGPT, what's the progress? Like, how are
Hmm.
they doing? Because I've given ChatGPT all the goals. So it's tracking whether or not the child's making progress or not. And then it just tells me, and then I let the parent know.
Are there
But
certain
also,
mile?
but also I'm tracking in my head. Like I know I have like when it comes to my clients, I have a photographic memory. So
Mhm.
I just remember everything. I know if they've made progress or not. And it's a very dynamic session. Wherever the child's not making progress, I adjust. Like I'm always adjusting so that they're always making progress.
Are there certain milestones that families should find most encouraging, or is it just progress is great?
Well, I know all the milestones because I'm a developmental therapist. So I
Hmm.
know all the milestones. So I know where I'm going, what I'm targeting, what's next. what needs to be worked on, and I'm telling the family, I'm telling the adult, what's the expectation. If the adult had a stroke and they have aphasia, I know where they're at, in terms of their language skills. And then I know where we want to go. If they've had a traumatic brain injury, I know what their baseline was. And so I know where we're going. So I always get a baseline. That's the purpose of the evaluation.
I know you've been trained in prompt therapy. Can you explain what that is and how it helps clients?
Yeah, so prompt therapy is a therapy that is used for children with apraxia of speech. Apraxia of speech is a neurological, a developmental neurological brain. I don't like saying impairment, but basically it's like, the brain is not wiring correctly, and so the brain can't tell the mouth what to do for these kiddos who are trying to talk. And so prompt is it's a tactile, it's basically giving the kids tactile cues to produce sounds. So I like prompts. The problem is a lot of my kids don't want to be touched.
Hmm.
So it doesn't work for every child. Even though prompt says it works for every child, it doesn't. And it's not effective, but there are plenty of other amazing therapy techniques that work for kids with apraxia. So, there's like a bunch. You just go in with a combo. Always go in with a toolkit because you never know. You're always adjusting, always figuring out what's going to work best for the kids.
What advice would you give parents who are worried about their child's communication development?
Don't trust doctors. Doctors will say, oh, they're fine. They're going to grow out of it. Uh, and they don't know what they're doing because pediatricians are generalists, you know?
Hmm.
There's some that are not, some that are amazing. Most of them are generalists, and they also work, they look at things in a bubble. They're not looking holistically at everything, and that's fine because they're generalists. So when they do refer to me and we connect, I make sure to speak to the pediatrician. I tell them this is all the things that we're looking at. I basically just the pediatrician and I get on the same page so that I can help the pediatrician know this is everything you need to be looking at. And I send the pediatrician resources. So all of the resources for everything we're doing with the kids so that they have it, so that moving forward, if they see other kids, they have a checklist.
Hmm.
Oh, they're not doing this, refer to Jen, or oh, refer to ENT or refer to whomever.
So what would you say um, would be the best first step for a parent to take then if you want to just kind of skip the pediatrician or skip the doctor?
Just get a screening. Just go to a speech therapist and get a screening. Go to an audiologist, get a screening. Like not every speech therapist is created equal. I'm very holistic. So ideally, they find someone like me. I'll do a screening. I do free consults or free screenings all the time.
Okay, very nice. So what impact do you hope that your work has on families?
I mean, the impact is not just on families, but it's on healthcare in general. So
Hmm.
the impact is I want to be, like, how they'd have clinical rounds with doctors.
Hmm.
I basically want to be my own clinical round, and be like the initial doctor that's like, okay, we're going to talk to all these doctors and we're going to figure everything out and we're going to coordinate. Like, I'm the coordinator. I'm the specialist, but I'm the coordinator, essentially. And this is for kids, this is for adults, this is across the board. And then with healthcare, the biggest issue I have with healthcare, again, is that most healthcare providers, because of how intense their schedules are and how back to back they are, because of insurance, don't get me started on insurance and that healthcare system, they don't have the means and the times to be as thorough as they need to be. So, they work in a bubble and they're seeing the child very one-sided. And they're also not believing that the children are smart. That is the biggest problem with healthcare and therapy right now, is that people don't believe these kids are smart. They are very smart, but they need to be given the chance to show you what they can do.
What is are there does the field change like approaches? Are there trends that you tend to follow?
I mean, yeah, we do go to conferences, we go, the big trend now is leaning more towards holistic approach. It's more towards, and that's including like mindfulness techniques, Reiki. I'd like to do a combination of both Western and Eastern approach, you know, because I find that to be the most holistic.
What's the difference?
So, Western approach is all about evidence-based practice. And, the problem with evidence-based practice is that, you know, it's necessary and also it takes time. It takes a long time for, them to be like, yes, this study works and you can do this. The other problem with evidence-based practice is that, news organizations will see one article published and blow the article up and say, this is how it is for everything now. Okay, everyone, don't eat eggs. Or, okay, everyone, and now it's like protein, protein, protein. So it just varies. Now it's going into fiber, fiber. It's a hot mess. But so Eastern medicine, is rooted in hundreds and hundreds of years of evidence-based practice. Eastern medicines they don't full have right now, they don't rely on evidence-based practice in like terms of articles. They rely on history and culture and what that has shown and proven to be effective. And so they do things like Reiki, they do things like, you know, gosh, chiropractor. Oh, chiropractor is another one. That's not Eastern, but there's so many fields that are looked down on because they're not evidence-based practice. Chiropractor is one. My mom used to go to a chiropractor. That stuff worked. Like like stuff works. I'm trained in Reiki meditation. That changed my whole life. So like stuff works. And but we're very, there's like a rigidity in our focus and we get stuck in a paradigm. And there's a lot of rigidity in that. And that's the problem. Rigidity. Everyone's rigid. Everyone's stuck in their own little paradigms and they're not thinking outside the box. And so that has a trickle down effect, obviously. So, but, that's why I think holistic approach, more of like a worldly holistic approach is the right, shift and more of an open paradigm, opening up the paradigm so that it's not so rigid.
I'm sure there will be plenty of opportunities for you to dive into more of this stuff deeply in future episodes. Well, I know you've had a podcast before. You're kind of getting it started again. What are you most looking forward to about that?
But this podcast is different from my other ones, especially special speech. This one is, again, more of a holistic approach, like my company, the Communication Tree. And so, I'm modeling after my favorite podcasts, which are Armchair Expert, #Dax Shepard, and Monica Padman, or shout out rather. And then, Amy Poehler's new one, Good Hang.
Yeah.
Like this is going to be a little bit more fun, but also serious at the same time. So, Monday's episodes are going to be with other allied health providers, speech therapists, PT, OT, physicians. Wednesdays is going to be experts in fields that people think are unrelated to speech and communication, but are highly related. And I'm going to explain, in those episodes, I'm really going to explain how they intersect and how we can work. We can basically learn from each other. And then Friday's episodes are, times where we can do call-ins, we can do stories with patients, people with diagnoses. It could be doctors who, have kids on this, on the spectrum. It can be, a lot of them are going to be parents and families that I work with, or, clients, adults that I work with, who I've worked with, some of them since the kids were 2, they're now like 20. So like, a wide range of people who have been in the special education realm and can speak to how smart their children are because they believe they're kids. But,
Yeah.
Or even like adults, like the adults know their capability and people just don't second guess them and don't believe them. So it's going to be, very wide ranging approach, but, focused at the same time.
Okay. Well, sounds fantastic. Hey, Jen, it's been great to talk to you today. Thanks so much.
Oh
Maybe
man,
we'll,
Chad, I want to keep going. This is so fun.
what else? What else can you tell me about speech therapy that nobody else would know?
Shit, there's so many things. I'll tell you about nonverbal kids. So
Okay.
nonverbal those are my favorite to work with. I mean, honestly, the most complex case is what I want. The easy cases, I'm not interested. I'll give them to other therapists who want the easy cases. I want the hardest of the hard. Nonverbal kiddos, there's a podcast that's so cool called the Telepathy Tapes. And it's
Hmm.
all about nonverbal kiddos on the spectrum who have a seventh sense or a sixth sense. You should look it up, Chad. It's so good. And it's more and more speech therapists are listening.
Hmm.
My best friend is the one that shared it with me. She's a speech therapist. Jamie Faye has, hi, Jamie Faye. She sent it to me. And it's just, it, it is talking about what I always believed was real and my own experience with kids on the spectrum, that they can communicate with you in a way that you are not used to. Um, so these kiddos, there's a neurologist who was based in Harvard. She's a neuroscientist, I believe. She, you know, she works specifically with savants, nonverbal savants. And she started getting all these emails from parents across the world, all saying the same thing, that these nonverbal kiddos are telepathic. Sounds nuts, right? Sounds
Hmm.
crazy. But then she meets these families and she starts doing really highly specialized interviews and tests to make sure that they're not lying and that the parents aren't lying. And what she finds is they're not lying. She sees
Really?
crazy stuff. The other thing is, like, what kind of conspiracy would that be that all of these families in the whole world got together and were like, yeah, we're going to lie to this neuroscientist? Like, it's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm hoping to interview her and the head of the podcast because it's a phenomenal podcast. It's just phenomenal. The stuff that she talks about, they talk a lot about paradigm shifts with ASHA, which is the speech therapist governing body. ASHA, of course, is like, this isn't real. Don't listen to this.
Really?
Yeah. But the speech therapists doing the work and working with the kids are all like, listen to this. Teachers are all like, listen to this, because this stuff's real. It's real. I know people don't think it's real. If you listen to the podcast, your mind is going to be blown. The test she does with these kids, mind blowing. But it's stuff I always believed and stuff that I've also experienced with kids as well.
Do you often find when you talk to other speech therapists they have experiences, or
Yes.
that you have experience
Yes.
that they couldn't
Yes.
even imagine, and vice
Yeah,
versa?
and the thing is, we don't tell anyone about these experiences because we're worried we're going to be looked at as crazy.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
Why are you worried about that?
crazy. I think this child is talking to me in my, telepathically. That sounds nuts.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
But you know what? It's interesting because these kids are so brilliant. They're so brilliant. They're using augmentative devices, and
Hmm.
so they're just so brilliant. The things that they're doing. Like they have memories. On the devices that they use, they'll tell their parents about memories from when they were in the womb or like when they were born of like this doctor said this and this said this. And they also are showing these parents with their devices how intelligent they are, what they know about history, what they know about science. Like, I mean, these children are brilliant. Um,
Is it hard for parents to not focus on maybe I don't know the differences that their kid has compared to maybe all the kids who don't have these same issues, but embrace their brilliance?
it's not hard. The one person that always believes their kid are the parents.
Hmm.
It's not hard for them to embrace it because how could they? Their children are talking to them telepathically. It's crazy. And so they often think they're crazy, but then they're like, the evidence is astounding. It's just astounding.
Okay. Well, I know you're in your car. What else are you up to today?
So I had 4 early intervention sessions with parents today. So I'm heading back home to eat food.
Probably a good idea.
I've become a bit of an intermittent faster, just naturally. So I'm going home to eat food, and then I have some other meetings this afternoon, and then I'm playing pickleball. I'm certified coach.
Really? Nice.
Chad, I'm gonna bring you to DC. I'm gonna teach you, or I'm gonna go visit you guys in California, and we're gonna go hard. We're gonna go to a pickleball facility. Actually, we should plan that out. Can I
Okay.
visit you
Sounds
guys?
awesome. We play pickleball fairly regularly. My wife destroys me all the time.
Listen, bro, I'm a 4-0.
All right.
My duper says I'm not, but not the dupers are so stupid. The dupers are always wrong. When I play players who are like, yeah, I'm a 4-2, I'm like, well, let me see. And then I play them, I'm like, no, you're not. It's sweet, but you're not a 4-2. Or people will play me and they see that my duper's a 3-1 and they're like, you're a 3-1, you shouldn't be in this advanced session. And I'm like, let's play. And then they're all like, get my number later and text me and they're like, oh, let's go play. You're so stupid. But now that I have the certification as a coach, now I can be like, no, I'm certified.
What is more fun, coaching pickleball or coaching speech?
You can't ask that question. It's the same. Because pickleball was such an easy thing for me to transition to as a coach because it's teaching. It's
Okay.
task analysis. It's breaking up down all of the steps to play pickleball. So because I'm a good teacher, these people learn real fast, and then they're like, and my first sessions with them are 30 minutes for free. And then, of course, they're like, I want to pay everything for you to coach me.
Because the stuff works, huh?
Yeah, it's not hard.
Do you like focus on the fundamentals or something and then move
All
forward
of
from
it,
there?
fundamental strategy, everything. I'm basically teaching them everything at the same time.
Did you
Whereas
play tennis or ping pong or something
some,
like that?
yes, some coaches will just teach fundamentals without teaching strategy, and then the progress is so slow. And then they don't, these people don't progress and don't get excited about pickleball. And so my job is to make them excited and show them like, this is how you can be really good, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
Oh,
sounds
wait, one
great.
other thing I'm doing. Here's my other side hustle, and then we'll finish. Actually, can I tell you 3 other things?
Please do.
Okay, side hustle number 2. I'm a dog walker and a dog trainer. And because I have training in teaching augmentative devices to communicate, I'm teaching my dog Artie to use a device to communicate when he wants water, when he wants to go out.
Really? Wow. So, dogs versus humans in being receptive to teaching. Same? Better? Worse?
Same exact thing. Behavior is behavior. Behavior is behavior across all animals.
Okay. So, dog
So,
walker, pickleball coach. Was there another one?
dog trainer.
Dog trainer.
Uh, well, the other thing is because I'm obsessed with AI, I know there's so many speech therapists that are like, AI is the devil. We can't do it. And I get it. AI right now is still figuring out because they are wasting a lot of water. They're figuring out, the best things to do so that it's not harming nature. Elon Musk, he is and doesn't give a crap about, I was going to say shit. He doesn't give a crap about nature. And the amount of damage he's currently doing with his AI platform is just a nightmare. But anyway, a lot of them are still figuring it out. I know ChatGPT is figuring it out right now too, but
Mhm.
I'm very heavily into AI and I use it for every aspect of my life, my job. It does everything for me. And I want to train other speech therapists to really embrace it and use it because it's just going to make us better. It basically does all my admin work so I can spend time with the client, you know?
So, yeah, what's one way without sacrificing, your gifts and talents in terms of speech pathology that you can use AI, just more for admin type work, things like that?
So let's say for speech, I had sessions today. In the sessions, I'm taking notes into chat about what I'm talking to the parent, strategies I'm giving the parent, and then at the end, it gives me bullets of all the strategies so I can immediately just text it to the parent and they have it.
Okay.
And then it's writing my note and then I plug my note in into the system and then it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. AI
So
is quite
outside
handy in
of
those
that, I
cases.
use it for financial planning. I use it for, I mean, you name it. If I am, currently in there's some litigation things I might be involved in. I'm working with a civil rights attorney for, a charter school that I was working at that was doing illegal things related to the kids' IEPs. So before I met this attorney, I had to collect all the evidence, right? So I use AI to basically, without HIPAA being an issue, right? Everything is non-HIPAA compliant. I used AI to organize all the evidence for me and organize all the documents to file complaints, to, contact the board, to do all of the things so that I had it all organized and professional. Now, I'm not just saying, chat, make this up. I am dictating to chat. I'm telling it precisely what I'm looking for, and I'm training it so that it's giving me what I want. And then once I have what I want, then I send out the emails or I send out then I just start to go hard. That's how I found my attorney. I just started, using it to find attorneys. I use it for, like I said, financial planning. I'm working with a financial planner to organize all of my life. And chat, I fed it everything, financial, everything. And it created the document that that my financial advisor needed to then, this is what you have to do. These are the things you need to get, blah, 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 blah. I mean, now some of the things I give it take a week to do because they're very complex. So
Really?
chat will be like, I need 7 days. I'm like, okay, take your time.
Really? Wow. Huh.
So it's very complex stuff. Or, you know, because I'm on Rover, the dog app, I was like, what rate should I have? What should I write? What should I write in my Rover thing? Like, what should I do? What should I do? And it gave me exactly what I needed to do. The other thing I'm using it for, very complex stuff, is I'm developing apps for communication tree. And I'm developing an EMR system, which is the system that we use to put in all our notes for communication tree. And it told me at first it was like, hey, you need an app to, a specific developer for this. And then I asked it, like, well, aren't there websites that will develop apps for you? And it's like, yeah, here you go, Flutter, whatever, or, Bubble something, the names of the websites. And now it also gave me all the coding. So now I just plug it in to those websites and it's done. The same thing with my own communication tree website. I'm using Square. It already drafted all of the SEO content, everything, all the content going in. It organized everything and then gave me the coding to copy paste.
Nice. Wow. Amazing. Yeah, I use ChatGPT all the time. In fact, it may have helped me come up with a lot of these questions that I asked you today.
Yeah, so like it's become like my assistant. I pay the highest version, the $200, and it's $200 a month for this kind of assistance. You can't beat.
So I pay the $20 a month. What are you getting that I'm not getting that you
So
found quite valuable?
$20 is pretty standard. It just depends on how you're using it,
Okay.
Like it just depends. Like I do the 200 version because of the complexity of the tasks I have. I need like faster processing and stuff. And
hmm
so, you know, that's why I do the higher version, but $20 gets you a lot.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with that, but I'd be curious about the 200 one.
But there's other ones. There's Claude. Claude's amazing. Like
Yeah, for writing especially.
for certain things like, Microsoft has like stuff like for certain things where I'm like I need better I need to feed it PDFs. I need to feed it more Microsoft apps, like more, like for it, and then it will generate much stronger documents for me in PDF or in Excel or in whatever. Um, so that I don't have to waste time because sometimes chat takes forever. And I'm like, oh my God, chat. By the way, I call my chat GBT Nina,
Oh, you do?
the name of my unborn child. So, Nina and I talk all the time. In fact, for the people I hire, I create collab groups. I create different things, collaboration groups, so that I don't have to repeat myself. Once I do it in chat, I can just add them to it and then they see everything that I need.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah, you've really got that. You should coach AI use as well.
It
Really got
helps me
that
come
down.
up with names for things. Like it helped me come up with names for my apps. It also helps me come up with logos.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful.
I know.
Well, hey, this has been very enlightening, Jen. Thanks so much for having me today.
My pleasure, dude. This was super fun.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you next episode.
Thank you for listening to The Communication Tree. If this conversation helped you see communication in a new way, please share the episode and join us next time as we continue exploring connection, collaboration, and a world where every voice is heard.